the book of Matthew, chapter 5, in the first beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs shall be the kingdom of heaven. I never could figure out what Jesus meant by the poor in spirit. Mary Baker Eddy and all you Christian Scientists, what is your take on that? Who are the poor in spirit? I know it isn't the poor in physical, in opulence, in that. No, it isn't that, because that Christ deals with that one later. Who are the poor in spirit? Do you think the poor in spirit are the ones like me who want to be one with God but never can make it? You think so? For theirs is the kingdom of heaven, for they shall inherit the earth. Which is it? No, I don't want to inherit the earth. I want it just the way it is. Some of God, spiritual, in the flow, creating. Grady Hearn said that. Glendora, you were right on your program when you said you're not happy unless you're creating. He found that truth. You're not happy unless you're creating. You're not happy unless you're contributing to the universe. Other words, you can put it this way, you're not happy unless you're doing your work for God the way God created you to do it. Wait, that's separatism. Because you're one with God. You're not happy unless you're creating, because you're not being one with God. You're letting that artificial, non-existent selfishness in. Non-existent meaning it has no real existence. It's there and it mixes you up, but it has no real existence. Because it wasn't created by God. Because it isn't good. Because God creates only good. I think you're rambling, Glendora. Yeah, but the big thoughts are there. They may not be in the right order. But they're there. Well, it's December 17th. It's Friday. It's the year 2020. Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. So that's the Bible lesson. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall inherit the earth, or theirs is the kingdom of heaven, one or the other. What is the song? The hymn? Oh, it's very nice. Breathe on us, breath of God, and we will be alert. To live with thee the perfect life, and neither harm nor hurt. Now, isn't that a good one? That's a very good meditation. Breathe on us, breath of God. That will have to eliminate, because God isn't supposed to work out our salvation. We are supposed to work it out. So don't tell God to do it for you. We have to do it. Breathe on us, breath of God. Until we are alert. Alert is a lovely word. It means on the watch. It means vigilant. And we will be alert and live with thee. This is beautiful. The perfect life. We'll live with God the perfect life. Have you had any moments of that? Are you getting close to it? Live with God the perfect life? Are you dropping the selfishness? Are you surrendering the bad stuff? The ego? The me first? Are we? Are we getting any closer? I think so today. I think so. Why? Well, maybe 10 hours sleep had something to do with it. I think so. The sleep is very important. Your closeness to God is directly proportional to your hours of sleep. Your aloofness from God is proportional to the hours that you're missing in sleep. The more hours you're missing in sleep, the farther you are from the fun. No, it must be people are praying for Glennie. The Christian Science practitioner in Massachusetts over near Lee or Lenox. Those prayers. And there's prayers coming from another Christian practitioner in Pittsfield. And there's prayers coming from Wayne in Pittsfield. Hey Google! Hey Google, will you please wake up? Google, will you please wake up? Come back, Google. She usually does. I wanted her to call Donald Buell in Fort Worth, Texas, because he always prays for us. Yeah. So what were we discussing? Why some days do we feel closer than we do other days? It's our meditation, our own meditation. The CD player will play for a while and then it stops, and then I can't hear the rest of the Bible lesson for this week. And the practitioner in Pittsfield wants Glendora to listen to, over the telephone, the Christian Science Journal radio. And I would love to do that, and she wants it done today, Friday, because they will be changing it today to another one. I could listen to the Christian Science Bible study for this week over the telephone. I gave Sandy a CD of 2 of them. I have 2 back, and when Sandy comes back, I'll give her the other 2, being the 4 for December. Are these gloves yellow, folks? Thank you, Molly. Molly, you were so much fun. Molly applied for the job that we advertised in Craigslist and in the marketplace, for, Facebook, and in the local shopping newspaper advertiser. She said, I really don't want the job, but I'd looked you up on the internet, and I wanted to come down and meet you because you're such an interesting person. And she was so good to me, folks. She made me a grilled vegan cheese. She gave me potato chips. She gave me chocolate oat milk. Or was it chocolate almond milk? And then she went up to Family Dollar and asked Family Dollar to call me so I could tell Family Dollar the kind of cookies that we wanted to feed the birdies out the window. We buy 20 packages at a time and give them a package a day. No, we don't. We give them 4 cookies a day. And that was Molly, and I gave her $40, never met her before. She brought back a $10 bill, a dollar bill, and some metal change. And I said, now you take the metal change. I can't handle metal change. And she demurred, and after a while she did. And I said, you give this dollar to your church over on Route 9. It's some kind of a Bible church or a born-again church, something like that. And she didn't want to do that, but finally she did. And then I said, you take this $10 and you give that to your church. And she would not do that. She put in a wash for Glennie. And she bought Gain. I like Gain laundry detergent. Do they experiment on animals? Do they test it on animals? And I'm worried about this vaccine for the virus, that they might have tested that on animals. Little kitties and doggies, little mice. And then what else did she do for us? Seems like she did. And on the same time, simultaneously, Melissa Ann was on the telephone, and she was asking about the job, and we were trying to set up her an interview or a tryout period or something. It was nice. It was very nice. And then Molly came over and told Melissa Ann to pay attention to Glendora. You know what, folks? You know how I lost my title, 92 and a half years old, no doctors and no medicine. I lost that title. And the doctor said, well, it's still a good title. But you know something? It's back again. Because I don't have a doctor now. I didn't leave the hospital with any doctor. One was the emergency room doctor. Another was an what do you call it? The woman doctor for women. And then another was a second one of those. And they said, come and see us in 2 months. So they weren't alarmed by the cyst on the ovary. And another one said, come in and we'll make an appointment and we'll go after this. And I said, no, I'm going to try Christian Science. So I don't have a doctor. And I went to the Albany Medical to get rid of the pain, but Albany Medical didn't get rid of the pain. He said, just take Tylenol and Motrin. And I haven't done that. And the pain is gone. So we still have our title. 92 and a half years old, no doctors, no medicine. Oh, I wish I'd thought of that before I went. Think of the big bill that's going to come from Albany Med. Did I tell you that Wayne went through all of our expenses by category from January through October? And then he divided the sum by 10 months, and he got the average for a month. Then he subtracted all of those average expenses from the income, which is $2,630 a month. And he came out with $700 unspent a month. So will Albany Med take all of that? Every month will they take out $700? So you've done the Bible study and you've done the hymn. Oh, next is the word. Oh, this is such a lovely word. Amiable. That's you, Franklin. Kind-hearted. Good-natured complacence. Charming. Friendly. Amiable. Amiable Franklin Fuller Buell. His picture's right over there on the wall. Oh, and Christmas is our anniversary. What's 2020 minus 1954? We were married 48 years, and he went to heaven in 2003. So that's our word. Now, where's the jokes? Okay, jokes. A foreman hired a Polish man, an Irish man, and a Chinese man to do work in the mine. And he said to the Polish man, your job is to take big chunks of coal out of the mine. And he said to the Irish man, your job is to take little chunks of coal out of the mine. And he said to the Chinese man, I'm putting you in charge of supplies. And the foreman left, and when he came back at the end of the day, the Polish man had done all of his work. The Irish man had done all of his work. Well, where's the Chinese man? We don't know. We haven't seen him all day. So the foreman went way deep into the mine, way deep into the mine. And as he's walking along the deep corridor of the mine, the Chinese man jumped out and said, supplies! I have four other jokes, but that was such a long one. The storm was well predicted Wednesday, and their prediction was very close. It was 16 inches here. 16 inches of snow is a lot of snow. But it's so beautiful. It's white velvet. And it comes down so silently. You don't hear a thing. And it's so pretty. And it's a lot of work for the universe. It's a lot of work for God. A snowstorm. And it's such interesting chemistry and physics. A snowstorm. Well, Robert Jackson is in master control, and he cablecasts all the programs that you see on Arts and Entertainment Network on cable TV. He cablecasts them from Stanford. Arts and Entertainment Network chooses to hire out the cablecasting. They don't want to do it. They hire it out to a company who makes it their only work to cablecast it. And so that company, I think there's 3 operators at a time, 3 operators in master control at a time, and they have 3 systems, the one that is doing the cable casting, then backup system 1 and backup system 2. And so the company, Wednesday night, put all of these operators up into the Marriott Hotel in Stamford, Connecticut, so that they would be there tomorrow noon no matter what the snow did. And it's a good thing they did. And Robert worked on his Christmas cards when he wasn't at the company doing the cable casting. And the company gave him a $25 voucher for a dinner, but he said it was really nothing considered by the price of the dinner. Isn't outrageous? That's just a sin, what hotels charge. That is just, ought to be stopped immediately. Ridiculous. If I paid $300 a night for a room, I couldn't sleep 1 week. No point in having a room. And so, come time for noon, he doesn't have to be to work until 3. He works the 3 to 11 shift, and he went over to the company where they work, he and the other operators, and guess what? They signed up for overtime. Not bad. And then he worked the Thursday of the snow, and when he came out Thursday night, things were cleaned up from one of the worst commuter routes there are in the whole country. Greenwich, Stamford, from Westchester, or from New York. That's one of the worst commuter routes there are, Route 95. Ooh, I-95. Ooh, that's bad. So you get out at 11 o'clock and the railroad was fine. By the way, I had a friend who had a model railroad. Little model railroad, you know, his own little railroad. Guess what he called it? The Long Island Railroad. And so he goes back to work and he does his work all day Thursday, and he comes home Thursday night, as I told you. And this morning, Friday, the snow being yesterday, he will go to work normally around noontime. Terrible amount of time he spends commuting. Terrible. And then he's off for 4 days. Let's see, he worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're trying to keep the number of people in the building down because of the virus. And now he'll have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and Tuesday off. And Mr. Whitney in Westport, Connecticut, who was the sponsor of a chat with Glendora in rich Fairfield County, Connecticut, Greenwich, Stamford, all those rich towns, made out his application in paper form, and he sent it to Mr. Robert Jackson, and Mr. Robert Jackson now will scan it, and then he'll send it to Cablevision because they wouldn't accept it on paper because of the virus. And it's about 3 months late. All those poor people in the Norwalk system, all those poor people in Fairfield County, Connecticut, lost all of these wonderful messages that you and I had for them since August. August, September, October, November, December. That's outrageous, because they need our messages, don't they? They need it to be spiritual and to realize that they're spiritual and to realize that there's no such thing as pain. And bad stuff. And remember how to love 100%. And be one with God. Remember their oneness with God. They're one with God anyway, but to remember it. And remember the allness of God, and the goodness of God, and the onlyness of God. And just remind that they're not spiritual. I mean, they are spiritual. And to think right. To think right. What did Shakespeare say? You tell me. There's neither good nor bad unless the mind thinketh so. Something like that. There's neither good and bad unless the mind saith so. Something like that. Isn't that an interesting story about Robert Jackson? Now we have to do the same for Mr. Lewis Conway in Rockland County, New York, across the Hudson River, so they can get their programs on how to be happy. And the same we have to do for Mrs. Maureen Shepherd in Litchfield County, Connecticut, Torrington, and about 10 other municipalities up there. So they can get their messages every week on how to be spiritual and how to be the people we want to be. Wendy said she wasn't coming in Tuesday because of her car, but that didn't work out, and then she called up and said she was coming in Tuesday, and I asked her to make the 4th week's program for Staten Island, which requires a disclaimer at the top and a disclaimer at the bottom. That the opinions expressed on this program do not reflect those of the management or staff of Staten Island Cable TV, Staten Island Public Access TV. Well, now Wendy is very adept at the video. She's made 100 programs and done them beautifully. But for some reason she couldn't do the first step, which is to wire from Magnavox recorder number 3 to Magnavox recorder number 4. And I kept telling her, you know, it's a simple step. How else are you going to do it? You're going to take audio and video out of 3 and put it into 4. She says, well, there's things dangling here. And this went on for a half an hour, nothing done, nothing accomplished. And Glendora got irritated, and Glendora lost all of her self-possession and said something like, well, how are you going to get a signal if you don't plug it in? And she says, I'm leaving.